Wow, 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 shingo. Da, 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 wow, 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 shingo. Oh, yeah, yeah. All right, let's get to work here. Peoples. What the fuck? Wow, 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 shingo. Ja, da, 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 da. Mm-hmm. All right, all right. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I know. See, I'm stuck in New York. We'll see what's up. I'm not sure. So, guys, we got to gap up in the QQQs. Let's get to work. We'll chit chat later. We got to gap up in the QQQs. My apologies if the what's it called? My apologies if the net's slow, but this is just the way it goes. We got to gap up in the QQQs. We got a little inauguration hoopla. There was also a considerable amount of other stuff happening this weekend. We had maybe the biggest launch in crypto history with the Trump coin. I don't know. I saw some of you guys talking about it. It was a little bit hard to catch just because you had to you had to be on the Solana, so it wasn't like you could just rip it off your Coinbase. But you could trade all that stuff. Heat is heat, and right after that, you got a little Melania coin, and I'm sure you're gonna just get coined just one after another on these things. It's you know a new way to make some money for the whole Presidente. But beyond that, there's all sorts of interesting things happening. So you got some cryptocurrency stocks going. You also have a lot of nuclear kind of stuff going. So you got a little bit of a little hoot and nanny happening. So now I think we got some action. So let's go in and have some fun. A couple things that have changed in the market from the last time. A little bit. A couple things that have changed is we were getting all these kind of gaps fade for quite some time, and the change of character and price has been startling. Not startling, but it's been strong. Now all of a sudden the gaps are holding. We've had multiple days, right, where the gap ups have held, and we've kind of grinded higher. So we're into a nice little sweet spot in the market. Let's see what we got going on the upside and downside. Zaman, the Persian pirate himself. What is up? Damn, man, I had this FTAI on my watch list already gapping down again. Look at this thing. Guys, this FTAI has been getting just hit one after another. This thing is $180. It's still getting hit. Like, I think you can kind of keep playing some of this stuff. When these type of stocks, like, they start to get demolished, you get a lot more action than you would normally think. Like, this is probably still right up our alley. I'd keep this on your watch list. I think you're gonna get some sick range on it, up, down, all around. Like, who gives a shit, right? Let the trend set, but you're gonna have the liquidity and everything you need. Let's take a look and see what kind of news plays we got. There's gonna be all sorts of random gappers today, just because it was such a busy little week. You got a whole host of these kind of little small caps. If any of you guys trade caps, follow, let all day kind of pick the best ones, but he's been on fire lately. We see like these kind of things, they're all starting to break range. It's basically anything that has a reverse split, right? They're starting to pump it. It's just that level of small cap cycle. They're all going one after another. Hey, this TEM actually is an AI stock. It's got a little to do here. Man, I'd actually be into this. This has got two Tempest AI. It had a series of PRs out on the weekend. And Tempest AI launches AI-powered health app. And I think this was $80. I think you may get a little something here. You may get a little something here. I would add this. Like, this is probably, you got yourself a little bit of a W pattern here. 2 million shares in volume. It is up 18%, but I would let this thing set up. Like, that could be right up our alley for some nice Oh, shit. Where did this motherfucker go? There it is, Tim. Cool. Let's add this Tim to the watch list. Eels. This is too thin. See 65,000 in volume. Now, see all these like little crypto plays? I think we want to be a part of some of these, right? So we don't, small caps, big caps, obviously. This one is very small, but it does got a history of making moves. The last time it went on a run, it was at 28 bucks. I mean, you're kind of coming off this big base. You got a lot of liquidity in the pre-market. I'd roll with that one. Add it. RKLB to look at a little RKLB. Now I don't got all my little news platforms and stuff up, so just bear with me. Look at this bad boy. It's kind of gapping up in the middle of nowhere, though. It needed to kind of remount over this. What was the news on this? Anybody see it? I don't got my Benzinga up or Trade Exchange. Yeah, look that up for me if you don't mind. We'll come back to it. Yeah, I'm on laptop life. This fucking mouse barely works either. Yeah, so this is DXYZ. This is basically an Elon ETF for the most part because they got SpaceX in it. You do got a trend line break in here. And frankly, this is probably the market where like it could have a chance to get going. It is a tricky trader due to the spread on this and a little bit of lack of liquidity, even though it's got a little breakout spot there. You do got to be careful on your size. You want to let the range pay you. And the reason is that there is a 30, 40, 50 cent spread a good chunk of the time on this. And so, if you market order, say 1,000 shares of this, like you're going to be in a weird spot. Look at this SMR, right? So these nuclear stocks are hot. You got a W pattern that's setting up over there. I mean, that's probably right up our alley too. Add that. AOI junk. So you can see like it's really all sorts of mid caps. Yeah, Oklo's also right a little bit of a nuclear play. So you got this breakout, then you got a pull back into the EMAs. Now it's starting to curl up. This is probably this one SMR. These are probably all in play. So I keep these on. Right. And then you see all these Bitcoin stocks. There's almost too many stocks that are hot today. Right. The market went from shit to hot in a matter of just days. It went from shit to hot pretty quick. So look, this Riot's at a breakout spot. The Riot has a couple problems with it. Number one, it just sucks to trade. It's a shitty trader. It's always been a shitty trader. This one and Mara, they stink to trade. I mean, there's no getting around it. Like you have a spot here. The question just becomes, how many fugazis do you got to deal with before like this thing gets going? That's where things get a little bit loose, right? That's where things get a little bit loose. So let's roll, all right? Let's see what else is going on. Whoa, 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 she go. Motherfucker. All right. Let's see what coins doing and MSTR is doing. They're a little bit easier to trade, even though they're more expensive. You have a level here on coin that's kind of holding up. And you can see here you got a little bit of a W pattern, which is just like a common rebounding pattern, right? It just looks like a W. This is going to be, you're at a spot here. So what you want to do is kind of make the trades. You want to see if it kind of takes out this range, which it's already been doing, right? And then how it reacts around the previous day's high. That'll be the kind of two levels that you want to kind of coalesce on. So you can see here on MSTR, you got the week open too. And so now you want to kind of see how it starts to react around this 400 spot. That's going to be a big level, right? It's just a mental level. And then you have the previous day's highs there. If the cryptos take a big run, then, we can hit this on the red to green if the setup holds. My thinking on this was actually if it had gapped up to say 415, 420, we short it. But, on a weak open, if we get a big dipper on it, it may actually get bought up. So just kind of be mindful. I think those are the two crypto stocks. But then you have some of these other ones, right? Like BTCT that you can do. Even the Hut Nation's got a good, a good potential setup that's setting up on this. It's been absorbing all this crypto hoopla for quite some time. So if you start to take out this kind of 2930 zone of love, I think you're going to be in for a little treat for the ladies. Woo. Yeah, I put BTDR originally on my watch list, but I didn't really like this candle that came out on Friday. I mean, this thing just took a fucking big roll. So what happens is, if you have like a little bit of a bounce setup, but then you have this big, like previous day, like this big dump, you have all this supply that you got to start eating through. And so it ends up being too much. Like you just want a cleaner play. It's not that there's anything wrong with it, but like you got to eat through all this supply. And so what happens is when you start to test levels of supply, you start to absorb it and you got to kind of eat through it and eat through it. And you can even see on the volume pattern, you can see signs of distribution, right? Like if you notice, right, the volume kind of upticks on its down days compared to its up days. And so, in this particular case, probably the sellers are in control of this. And then you have so many levels of supply, not just from Friday, right? But then from all these other previous days, back in here where they've been distributing. So then it ends up just being a little bit of a tricky McGee. So I usually will leave those alone. I think there's just probably easier plays out there. Now, look, on the other side of things, if we need some shorts, and you always want to have a couple shorts on the watch list, I think this Eli Lilly's got a nice breakdown set up here, right? So you've got yourself this kind of big whoosh here. The whole Ozempic kind of craze is, slowing down a little bit. And, on a longer term basis, right, you can see this is kind of like a big just rollover spot where, it's kind of peaked out at that 1,000. It's kind of peaked out at that 1,000 spot or 950 spot for months. It was just grinding there, couldn't do it. And now, right, you're getting distributed heavily and you've got yourself this big kind of level here it doesn't really matter the exact spot, right? But you're kind of in this zone, whether it's, 715 or 700, 730, it doesn't really matter. But you're in this kind of zone of love that, it's due for a breakdown. I think probably, with such a light open and a huge, right, Poppy McGee on Friday to the downside, this one we can jam it up. If it jams up a little bit, say you get into this kind of some of these zones here, 735, 738, right, all this congestion right over here. This was where like that kind of breakdown spot was on Friday. That's a good magnet. If you can get close to that area, we can start looking on shorter term time frames to roll that thing over and see like what the heck is going on. So I like the overall look of it. I want to see it jam it up, and then I'll try to roll this thing into this congestion. Now, if it just gets rugged right off the bat and goes green to red and takes out Friday's low, that's a secondary setup that I would totally be willing to do on this, right? So you can have kind of two plans of action. If you get a shit pushed in at 735 to 738, we take it down. If it gets rugged right off the bat, then we'll start to short it as it breaks through the previous day's lows. I don't know if the calls are even liquid enough on this usually, but we'll see. Maybe we look at some 700s or 720s or something along that end, and that might give us a little bit of that extra quesos, right? And then we'll kind of see what the heck is up All right. I like this one a lot. This one, this one and FTAI are going to have some decent range on today. We got some decent range on this bad, but look at this, man. This is 30, 40 points right here. You're already popping back into the bone zone. Man, that's a damn good looking stock right there, right? So let's add both of those on the short list. If we need any other shorts, we can start kind of messing around. Like you have a couple of these that have PRs out. So this ED is a Chinese stock that's got a PR out today. Boom, 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 boom. I think it's its earnings. Look at that. So New Oriental, what a name, right? Hey, old New Oriental. And Technology Group fiscal gap earnings fall, revenues rise, blah, blah, blah. You got a big base right here, right? This is a big spot, right? Like this is a perfect, if you're looking for a short in this market, right? Like you want something that's got, right? You want something that's got some catalyst out. I like that. So let's add that one. We got Lily. Lily's starting to get jammed up, which is good. We got ourselves some EDU. On the upsides, right? We got a couple nice little PR plays. We got BTCT. We got the Temzilla. The BTCT, the Temzilla. Now, beyond that, I got a couple other ones that I think we want to just kind of keep an eye on. Some of the old faithfuls are still setting up here. Tesla's got just a little bit of a flat open for the most part. And I think you can keep that on the watch list. Beyond that, out of the larger ones, right? AVGO's got probably the breakout setup. Dude, it was, acting in fits and starts, and now you're starting to get it, right? Like this attack on the 250's coming. And so now we gotta push this thing through, right? So you got this big, it's a 1 month long base now. We're coming in for glory on this bad boy. So keep an eye on this one. AVGO, usually I'll do the calls on them. So, you probably are going to go like, say, the 245s, the 250s, wherever the liquidity is for the most part, probably closer to probably the 250s or, 245s, either or will do on them. I think that's got the look, though. The rest of the kind of larger names are all stuck a little bit in range, right? Like if you have NVIDIA, there ain't much you can do on this. It's just stuck in range, right? You got AMD stuck in range. So you got to probably leave those alone. Some things that are holding up, right? This NVIS finally had a down day. I think another down day into the bone zone sets up a nice potential long. It is on the 9 EMA, and it could very well hold and kind of rip through this 40. But ideally, right, in an ideal circumstance, I think if it can pull back just a little bit more, it sets up a nice swing trade. If you look at the volume accumulation on this, right, the sector that it's in and what it's doing, we got ourselves a little bit of a chance here. We got ourselves a little bit of a chance to get going. So let's roll with this thing. I'm into it. Let's roll with this thing. But yeah, let's get just like a little bit more, one more down day on this bad boy. And I think we'll be in a good spirit. This app, this is taking out a nice range here, right? 1 test, 2 test, 3 tests. Woo. Dude, that's a little hootenanny here. Now, look, it's kind of been a grinder here and a lot of kind of doji candles. So it may need to firm up for one more day. But the overall look of this, like whenever you get a stock that's run, in so many months, 50 to 100, 200, 300, 400, the amount of marination it needs to do is significant, right? So like if you run, like this earnings gap here was at whatever, from 150 to right 200, then it ran to 300 and 400. when you have such a level of heat, a month, maybe 2 months of marination of just kind of grinding everybody out, buyers and sellers, and kind of resetting the range on it is really important for it's kind of for that next leg. If you don't get enough base, then you just don't get enough. It doesn't have enough heat on the down upside, right? And so you're starting to get there. I think that kind of 350 zone is a good spot. Let's see what makes out of that. I like that one though. It may need just one more day, but you're getting there. What the fuck? Sorry, these Dell computers, it's like they just click buttons on their own, fuckers. Yeah, I think SMTC looks okay, Zaman. You can keep day trading this. The swing trade setup is gone because that was probably a little bit closer to 70. You can keep day trading it. It could use an inside day or two. Nothing wrong with it. I think there might be just a little bit tighter patterns. In general, once you get into if the market is up like many days in a row, you start, we're not there yet, but like if the market starts to grind higher a little bit, you want to make sure you're not in anything that's been up 4 or 5 days in a row, right? You want to kind of find the ones that are still a little bit closer to the base. Arm looks okay too. Not my exact cup of tea because it's just been a little bit of a grinder. It's been moving okay for a point here, point there, but there's just something about it. It's just lacking that bang, right? There's something about it that just like it's not getting that juice going. It's not getting that flavor going. Yeah, another one that could be decent. It's a little bit slow, but you may have to do the options on it. But this UAL has got right after that breakout. Now you've got a nice kind of 3-4 day pullback over here, where 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days of kind of consolidation here that you're starting to take out. This kind of 110 zone. That could trigger its next leg, but I think that's probably a little bit more of a swing trade setup than a day trade setup. It moves okay, like its ATR is good enough, but it's just a little bit of a grinder. Nothing wrong with that. Sometimes a little grinder is good for the soul. Heck yeah. It's all right. It's all right. Good. Now let's just regurgitate this, before we get back. So we've got a handful of news names that we want to keep track of. FTAI, I think we want to do. EDU also, that 50 is going to be a big spot. It may lose that right off at the open. We want to keep an eye on the Lily if we need some shorts. On the long side, right, what we want to be doing is kind of watch these crypto names, especially the more specky ones. I think they're going to have its day in the sun after the Trump coin action. This TEM, what the fuck? What is all this? This TEM, oh my gosh. This TEM's also, right? It's fading off a little bit. That may not be anything, but let's make, as long as it can kind of hold this, let's say 40 zone, let's see if it rounds it back and gets a little bit of heat. It's the right sector at the right time. Obviously this insider just blowing out 33 million shares is never a good sign, but I think it's for a $5 billion company. Okay, you sold a few shares, pay for the hookers, pay for the blow. What can you do, right? You got to have a little fun once in a while. So, all right, there's a little insider selling. We'll deal with it. Beyond that, we got this DXZ. I think this could pick up some heat today. 2 things on this one. Never chase it. Watch your size. There's going to be a spread. You want to let the range pay you, not your size. Meaning, if you normally would buy 500 shares of it, do 200, 300, and let the overall range pay you. Sometimes people on these e-liquid ones, because they move so much, they get the big city dreams, and then they go in, deep, and they got those big city dreams, and then they're like, man, I can't get in and out of this thing. It's got a spread, and usually spreads kind of bring out the worst in you too, because you're like, Should I sell on the bid? Nah, you always are farting around for the last, couple coins. So keep an eye on this one. I think you want, let's add some nukes here. What the fuck? Let's add some nukes here right into this sweet spot. And boom, right? We're going to add SMR. You could do NNE. It's a little bit more grindy. So I don't like the location of it on the daily. This Oclo is a little bit better because you're kind of up over the MAs. And right, its overall structure is holding. So that one's got a good look. Now, guys, the market probably needs to pull a little bit at the open, especially, and look, a lot of these breakout stocks, if anything's up like 4, 5, 6 days in a row, just leave it alone for now. Like, there's a time and place for it. And it just may not be, let them all pull back. So if you've got some like beauty that you really like, but it's up 4 or 5 days in a row, just let it go. It'll pull back at some point, and then you can, you can come back on it. Let me see that, Andre. Apple got a downgrade. Yeah, if you need a short, you can do Apple too. Nothing wrong with this one. It's just rolling over. We can wait for a pop or whatever. It may bleed out a little bit too. Good. All right, folks, that's a wrap. Let's go have some fun today. Let's go do the Lord's work. Cool. All right, let's do it, baby. Let's go do it.